Wooden base. Pine base. Wooden base. Pine base.
And it gets your face like warmed up.
Super serious.
Where nothing fun or funny ever happens.
This is a super serious thing.
I don't even like dogs.
Super serious.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Super Serious Dog Podcast.
Cast. We do our own sound effects here.
Apparently.
Just to let you guys know, this episode is sponsored by Puppyscapes. They make really, really cool jungle gym type equipment for your dog to play on. It's the same kind of stuff that you would put in your backyard for your kids, but for your dogs. They have everything from like jumps and A-frames all the way to like really intricate systems. They're super duper cool. So if you want to take advantage of this short-term, limited time only partnership, you can go to puppyscapes.com, fill out a contact form. Tell them that you heard about us through our podcast or heard about them through our podcast, Super Serious Dog Podcast. And you'll get 5% off a single item or 7% off multiple items.
Woohoo!
So,
I get mine soon. I'm so excited.
I know. I cannot wait to see it
Yeah.
and play on it.
Oh, by the way, Emma's here.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm here.
PT Dubs. Emma's back.
Yeah, regular.
She just hangs out now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just here.
She's our standby guest. Like, what are you doing today?
I'm like Birdie.
Dude, that would be pretty awesome.
Like, you're cool.
Except way
but,
less
like,
qualified.
Right. So, Emma, you recently competed in some dog sports with your doggos, and I took notes because I thought it was super cute.
Okay.
So, so just so y'all know, Cricket, her little schnauzy, he closed third, and he got a novice title.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that novice title. That's a story.
Yeah, well, tell us about it.
Ooh, tell us.
Man, it just like took so long to get it because she's actually just right here bugging at me. So we started Barn Hunt like when she was really young, and Barn Hunt, I think we might have touched on this last time, but like it's a dog sport, you know, they go and find rats that are safe in tubes. That was a really bad description, but anyway, sorry.
It's the TLDR. It's the explain like I'm 5.
But I mean, I think we talked about it last time, so I'm sort of just like skipping over it. But anyway, she, she did really well early on when we were doing this sport and was like getting a lot of first places and like just really into it. And then all of a sudden, I don't exactly know why. I have a few theories, but she completely lost interest and like would not do it. She would just stand there and like didn't want to hunt, didn't want to indicate, wouldn't tell me, like didn't want to do it. So it was like really, disheartening and kind of crappy.
Yeah.
Well, then we took like a year off and I came back to it recently. Well, actually, sorry, so let me rewind. The theory I had about like why she stopped being interested in it was like I think she kind of figured out that she couldn't get the rat, you know? Like she was like, oh, okay, like
I was worried about that. Honestly, I started doing Barn Hunt with my dogs, not competitively, just like for funsies. And like that was my main question was like, but won't the dog get frustrated that they never get to get it?
Yeah.
And then
like,
as soon as they find it, I take it away.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think part that was part of the problem. The other problem was I used a lot of food reward, and she's insane, obsessed about food. And so I think I was sort of like, we turned it more into an obedience exercise where she was kind of like, oh, I just touched this tube and then I get to get my food. But like 2 problems with that is that like, A, she would like lie to me. She would just find a tube and there's other tubes in the ring that aren't the rat. And she would also, she wouldn't be able to get fed in the ring. Right. So then she started to just be like, okay, well, screw this.
Cricket.
Took like a year off. And then I like circled back. And when I got Toro, I was like, I wanted him to do it. And so I brought them both and I explained to the instructor, like the whole situation. I said, I don't want to use food this time. I'm not even going to bring food in. Like I'm going no food with this dog. And it went, and what we did was we actually put a rat in a cage so that like she could see it. And she went pretty apeshit for it, and it worked really well. And we just kind of rebuilt her up, and I really let her kind of like have at it, on the tubes and everything. Like I let her kind of fulfill that. And that's something I think I also didn't really do ever. It was kind of like, oh, you found it. Okay, you're done.
Okay. So just to clarify, when you say have at it, you mean like you let her bark and bite and just
exactly like kind of dig at the tube and just like however she wants to express that. Right. And I would like cheer her on. And that's the thing I think that's like important to talk about is like when you have a dog who we sort of touched on this last time with like a lot of obedience or like a pet dog who we've put a lot of manners on. And then you want some like drive in a sport. Like the dog's like, what? I'm not allowed to do this. Right. You're always telling me like, I'm not allowed to like dig. Oh, there's Toro. So I think she was a little bit like, oh, I'm not supposed to do this. And now I was like, no, it's okay. Like, I want you to get that thing. And then it's been going really well. So we had a few practices that all went super well. And then we had a trial. And yeah, she was great. I was really happy. I was nervous because we'd been in a trial a bunch of times where she had just like totally fucked off.
Yeah.
It's traumatizing and embarrassing, right? Like,
yeah.
My dog has the drive, I swear. She kills things in real life.
That was the problem, though. Is like she's like, this is worse than real life. Why would I give a shit about this?
Exactly. I think that is sort of part of the problem. So just trying to make that fun for her again. And I think I have to be careful. Like we do have another trial, and I'm curious if she's gonna be into it again. Like, or if she might be like, I know how this goes.
Oh, we're doing this again.
Yeah, I have to see. Because when you're in a trial, you don't let them have at the tube as much because you're stressed and you're like, gotta get it out of here.
And there's like a time factor, right?
There's a time factor, exactly. So like, but when you're in practice, you can really encourage that. But now that we've done a trial, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to try not to stress about it.
Yeah.
But now she's moved up a level too. And she did get one leg or one cue in that higher level. So I'm super happy because that was, she had to find 2 rats. And she did it. So pretty stoked.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then
cool.
it was Toro's first trial ever, baby Toro. And he killed it. Like he got first place, he got second place.
Yeah.
He got his instinct title. And then
so what's the instinct title? I wanted to ask
you. So the instinct title is basically like you have the ring, you have 3 tubes that are set up like on a flat board and they're strapped down, but they're like exposed, they're visual. And you have a tunnel, but they don't have to do the tunnel. But basically you like release your dog and you just have to call the rat when they indicate on it, right? It's just to test whether they have the instinct.
Okay.
And then it is also timed. So I think he got second in that. I think a dog beat him by like 2 seconds, but he did it in 10 seconds. Wow. So that was
nice.
Good.
So is there like a lot of like, what is it called? Like blinds or like red herring type sort of stuff where there's like other things in the field that they might possibly mistake?
Yeah, so in the 3 tubes, like one of the tubes has a rat, one of the tubes has rat litter, and then one of the tubes is empty.
Okay.
And then that's in that level. And then as you go up, so like novice level, there's 1 rat hiding and it's completely concealed, like you can't see it. And then there's another 2 tubes, one with litter, one without. And then as you progress up, like the next level, there's 2 rats, 2 litters, etc., and more and more and more.
Yeah.
And then at the like master one or the highest one, you don't know how many rats there are. So you just have to trust your dog. There could be none. There could be 5. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There can't be none. I think there has to be a minimum of 1.
Oh, that's good.
But you don't know how many. So your dog could continue to search and you have to call it. So you have to say, okay, there's none. You can't just let them right now.
Yeah.
So that's where it can be tricky.
That sounds hard. Yeah.
Like playing pool, you have to call which pocket the 8 ball is going to go into at the end, which I never did because I sucked. And it was, if I got it in, it was total luck.
Right. Like, I don't want to call it. I might make it on the other one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that's so cool that you like trial and stuff. I have 5 dogs and I don't trial any of them because that's so overwhelming for me to go.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And I mean,
I have a lot of dogs I trial in different things. So.
Yeah. Even just like sometimes like the signing up process and the organization or lack thereof of the events is just like
Yeah. I
frustrating.
remember like when I first was interested in trialing, I looked at like the sign up sheet and I was like, I can't do this. This is impossible. Like, I don't know what any of this stuff means. Like, it's hard. It's not easy. But once you do it once, it's very easy after that. Like,
That's what I keep telling myself, but I'm just not there yet.
it's just reading
Maybe
comprehension. It'll be fine. But yeah, so super happy with how Toro did. Oh, and then actually I didn't explain this, but there's what they call crazy eights.
Okay.
Oh.
And that's where there's 8 rats in the ring. And then there's like a few other tubes, of course, and you have to basically find as many as you can, and you get points for all the ones that you find. You are even allowed to get 1 false call, but you just lose points. And they still have to do the tunnel, and it's like a master's level tunnel, so it's, or maybe senior level, I forget, but it's difficult. It has like a few turns in it, and so it's like a long tunnel. And so the Crazy Eights is really fun. And actually Toro, I think he found only 4 rats, but he did the tunnel and the climb. So he got a total of 60 points, which was the most that anyone got that day, which was awesome for his first time. Like, it's very overwhelming, right? When there's that many rats, the dog's kind of like, I don't know what to do. And Cricket did really well with that too. I think she got 6, which was awesome or maybe 5. I can't remember, but she did really well. Yeah. But Crazy Eights is crazy.
I bet, because even as the handler, you're like, oh crap! Like you have to get all of them.
You have to get the tube out. Like the dog indicates, you got to grab the tube, get it out. There's all these rules about like touching your dog and touching the hay bales and all this stuff, and it's like so fast paced. So it's exciting. It's a fun sport.
Yeah, it sounds super fun.
Sounds exhilarating. Not as like exhausting in some ways, as because agility, you have to run fast. You have to be faster than your dog.
You got to
which
run.
Is really hard to do, like for anybody, but especially, I don't know how some people do that all the time.
Yeah, it's dangerous. I mean, you have to be fast, or you have to be able to send your dog out, and they have to be able to take directional cues. But that's friggin' hard. And when you move fast, like it gets dangerous. Like a friend of mine broke her elbow really badly, just like doing agility. She wasn't even running that fast. She just fell. Oh God, that would be that would totally be me. I sprained my ankle just walking. Me too. Exactly.
Oh God, that's funny. What do you have any other sports that you want to do with Toro besides barn hunt?
Yeah, so I am doing PSA with him, which is protection sports. He is not made for it. Again, I think we sort of talked about this. I don't remember, to be honest.
I think so too.
I don't have like big aspirations for him with it. It's just more I want to get him a PDC, which is the entry level. And I mean, maybe a 1, because if you're training for a PDC, you should be training for the next level up, right? Basically, they say be ready for the next level. So we'll see what happens with that. But it definitely taking my time with him. Like I don't really expect that for years, many years, because he's still such a baby. And I hope I can do dock diving with him as well. He doesn't swim very well yet, but his mother and sister are very good dock divers. So
that's awesome.
He can do it because I mean it's like one thing to do that with a Malinois. Like my Mal, he got the highest title very quickly, but
he just
like,
got it. He just
he just like jumps 26 feet. No big.
Oh my God,
insane!
The giant schnauzer, it's like more impressive, right? Because they're not really like known for that. So
and they're big and stocky and like
exactly. Yeah, see them fly is kind of cool.
Yeah, Malinois are all svelte and stuff.
Yeah, they're athletes for sure.
So for our listeners who don't know, like you don't necessarily have to have a specific breed to compete in specific sports, but there's a reason that people use specific breeds for specific sports, right? Because if you're going to compete in something like agility, it's probably not a good idea to have a pug or an English bulldog who's going to get winded super fast and has short stubby legs and like no actual grace and agility in them, right? And I know it's it can be a big source of contention for some people in the dog sports world because a lot of people I feel like want to have that like, oh well, I did it with a pity. Oh yeah, I did it with a Chihuahua. Haha, so I'm cool. Look at me.
Because we've all seen the one-off like YouTube videos or whatever of the bulldog doing the agility and freaking everything he's got to get over that jump, and running as fast as his little body can waddle, and like it's funny. So everybody wants to have that dog. Yeah.
I mean, it's like I've been guilty of that before where I've said like, it doesn't really impress me when you like do obedience with a Malinois or a Border Collie. Like they're built that way. It's like, it's so easy. And then that's the thing with my dog. I'm kind of like, I'd like to take credit, but I'm also like, he kind of came like he didn't come with any training, but it was very easy to train
but
him.
He wanted it.
Exactly.
He soaked it up like a sponge, and he was
so
like,
different with an off breed or even just like a less biddable breed. So it is impressive when you see like, let's say like a sight hound doing agility, because like stuff like that, or a beagle doing obedience, like it's impressive, but there's definitely a reason people have certain breeds in certain sports.
Yep.
Especially when you want to talk about like protection sports. And there's a lot of good reasons. It's an uphill battle for sure, but like getting into protection is not something you want to kind of just do lightheartedly.
Yeah. For sure.
It's a big commitment. You don't really want to like open up that situation if you don't want to follow through,
Right. We talked about that recently, right? Like the half-trained dogs.
Yeah.
Or no, we didn't. Somebody else did on their podcast. This is what happens when you do a podcast and also listen to podcasts is you very much blur the lines. It was Pat and Glenn talking about the half-trained dog.
Yeah.
The people that come to a couple protection lessons and then fall off.
Yeah.
Because you've opened a can of worms and then...
Yeah.
You've shown it like a life it could have, and it's the best life it could possibly have in its mind, and now it can't do that.
I mean, I feel that way about like herding, let's say, like opening that drive up for your dog and then kind of being like, oh, never mind, just kidding. Like you can't do that. You're going to create problems for yourself.
Right.
If you don't want to continue fulfilling that.
Cardi, do you want to share what happened to Reddy at a young age?
Which
was it Phoebe when that one person like smacked him in the face around sheep?
Oh,
Was that Phoebe?
That was Phoebe.
Right.
Yeah. So I have border collies. I got a border collie puppy, and a friend had goats, and I had been taking my other border collie to herding lessons. So I brought her, and we showed her goats. She had the instinct. We were like, cool, when she gets older, we'll do more of this, because you don't want to do a lot at a young age, because you do it wrong.
For sure.
That person had goats, and she is not the best trainer. And sometimes as dog trainers, we listen to our friends, and it's not always the best idea. But I exposed her way too early, and she had a lot of herding drive. And then I left my dog with this person, and they unfortunately decided to use either the e-collar and the whip, or just the whip. I don't know, but they used it quite harshly on my dog, and so now anytime she sees a whip, she goes and she hides.
Oh no!
Yeah, I haven't taken her back around livestock.
Yeah.
But a problem that I did have is anytime I would visit this person and she would see the goats, because even at a distance, a border collie is like, I know what those are. When we would come back home, she would get more fixated on my cats. And like living with cats and border collies, I've accepted is generally always going to be a possible point of contention because it moves. Mm-hmm. And with border collies, if it moves, it's a point of interest, and like, they live very well together. Nothing ever happens, but they watch the cats. They just look at them. But whenever Phoebe would be exposed to the goats when we'd come home, she would watch them with a bit more intensity and a bit quicker to jump if they like move the wrong way,
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's just opening that drive up. But then also you have assholes that can fuck your dog up.
Yeah.
I don't know which part of that story you wanted me to tell.
I
I told both parts.
Pretty much that. Yeah. And like, that kind of goes to don't open up that can of worms, but also don't just be like, oh, I think I know what's happening. Right. Like go hire somebody if you think that this might be a good idea. I once thought that potentially doing protection type sort of stuff with B-Town might be helpful as like an outlet for him to bite, because he bit all the time, and I was like, maybe you truly enjoy biting. Maybe that's where like logical, this is coming from, right? Turns out no, he's just super insecure. He's a huge pansy. He's a little baby,
right?
No, like any kind of like hands going near him. He was like, no, fuck the rag. I don't want the rag. I don't care. Yours. I don't care.
Right.
It was really funny.
Yeah.
But as far as like, you know, your interactions with clients or in your experience in like, you know, actually going to these competitions and stuff, do you see a lot of like off breeds, or is it like still kind of rare? Or is it just like people like you who are like, I just want to do it for fun. This is just a hobby I want to do with my dog, and they seem to enjoy it type of thing?
I mean, I think it really depends on the sport. Like some sports are not like, there isn't really an off breed. Like barn hunt, like any dog can and will do that. Dock diving, you see a lot of like border collies, Australian shepherds, Malinois, labs. A lot of those are the whippets, a lot of those like performance dogs. You don't see a lot of like the bigger, like we were kind of saying, giant schnauzers or whatever, mastiffs. Like, you don't see those at any sport event really. But yeah, I think it does depend. I think even like with protection sports, even our club, like we have a few, well, we're very much like a club full of people who kind of just have pet dogs who are like, oh, I want to do this. And like, I'll eventually get another dog probably for this. But right now we're kind of just using the dog we have. That's not true for everybody, but most of them. Yeah. So
that's cool.
It's not necessarily that they're off breeds, but they might not have been bred for it or whatever, or raised for it. Or they have been bred for it, but they haven't been raised for it. So now we're actually, again, having to backtrack where like we have a year-old dog and she has so much obedience on her, and that dependence on handler, she doesn't want to branch out and play with anyone else. So kind of breaking that down, and it's going well. Like it's, you know, we're making improvements for sure, but that's how we learn, right? So it's cool. But
is this your PSA club that you're talking about?
Yeah.
So when did you decide to make a PSA club in your area?
Oh, well,
how did that come about?
Good story. So I never was interested in protection sport really. Mostly because I think I only really knew about like Schutzhund, IPO, IGP, you know, I'm going to probably name it something else every time I mention it. Well, they all do. So
I was going to say, like, doesn't everybody like just I and then some letters and whatever.
Exactly. So, and there was a club local to me that like very, very close to me, and he had giant schnauzers, and I was getting a giant schnauzer, and I thought, oh, I'll go check out the club. And like, again, I knew my dog was not like a working line dog. He wasn't bred for it, but there were dogs in his lineage and like even his mother who like do bite work. So I was like, okay, this will be cool to learn about and go to. So I was going with just cricket, and like we would do obedience and stuff. And like, you know, getting to learn. The club was like, it was very, very small. And I would say, what's the word? Like the opposite of modern.
Old school?
Yeah, like old school, I guess. Like the training was just like not very technical.
Right.
You know, you don't know what you don't know, I guess.
Sure.
But there was a little bit of...
That's fair.
It was like that whole dynamic, right? A lot of protection clubs kind of have like an older demographic, people who've been doing this for many, many, many years, and therefore like, you know, nothing. So even though I've been, you know, training dogs and like kind of modernizing, you know, what I'm doing, I didn't have really any leg to stand on to kind of suggest anything, you know? And it wasn't that they were like ramming anything down my throat. Like they weren't giving me bad advice or anything like that. It's just like, it just wasn't a great fit. Anyway, so we were going to this club really regularly. And I had Toro, and eventually there was sort of just like a bit of a falling out. It doesn't really matter, like with my decoy and the other decoy. And the other guy, the John Schnauzer guy, also told me that like Toro was a complete wash and like blah, 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 and all this weird stuff that I was just like, well, I don't like, again, I don't expect him to do a lot, but he's definitely not a wash. Like he has, he's looking better than your dog right now. So, you know, and then I had rigs. I just gotten rigs like Riggs worked like twice at that club, and then we left and we went on to our own thing. And like, thank God we did. Honestly, we've just grown so much. It allowed us to grow. We weren't able to grow at the other club, and that was sort of the problem. So we just started our own thing. And I mean, we had always planned to start our own thing. Like, we had been a registered club. We just were training with this other group. And so that was kind of the catalyst. And we went off on our own, the three of us. And then it just like grew very quickly. And I mean, honestly, like, our club is the best. Like, it's the best. We have people who bring us, like, one of our clients club members brings us cookies every week. Aww. And we cook meals. Like, we have a camp stove, and like, it's just the best.
That's awesome.
The best club.
Yeah. Fun. Sounds like a really nice community, right? Like, cause if you like each other and, you know, you're going to spend time with each other and you're going to work together.
A lot of time.
But if you can be friends too, on top of that, and have this like little community and, you know,
I think that's how you're going to do the best. Like, I think the best clubs are who have the most success in trialing, I think, are the ones that are closest and like really a family, you know, like it's so supportive. And you need, like, in order to compete in PSA, like, specifically, but any sport, any protection sport, like you need a tribe of people to help you. Like, you just simply cannot do it by yourself. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So if you're close with that group, it's going to make it even better.
Yeah. Cause you can't be like, hey dog, bite me.
Well, yeah, that, and even just obedience, like, you need spotters and you need people handling leashes and like so many things. And like, when you're feeling really shitty because you had a bad session, like, those people are there to like encourage you and remind you of the good sessions, you know? So
that's so awesome. That's something I've noticed from the outside. I'm not in any clubs, but I worked for a protection trainer for a little while and then just like follow a bunch of people who do protection. And like, you can see the community and you can see that people lean on their club for support, and that when one person out of the club is competing, or even if everybody from the club is competing, or most of them, like if one person titles, like, everyone is super proud of them. And it's just, that's so cool to see.
That's something that like Pat talks a lot about too, or like a lot of people, like with IGP, like, it can be much more like competitive because you're all fighting for the same points, you know, like, you can win stuff off of a half a point. But with PSA, you're really just trying to pass. Like, everyone is just trying to pass. And like, there is scoring, but it's much more about just like trying to beat the game. And that's what's nice. I think, like Pat always says, it's like very like, there's a lot of camaraderie in the sport. And that's what's kind of like drawn me to it. And I really like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
And actually just last weekend, we went to a PSA club down in Hamilton, to kind of, you know, that was kind of our first experience with like real PSA people. Cause otherwise we've just been like anyone we can get to come in because the border's been closed. And all the good PSA people are kind of in America, but we have, Mike Anderson. He's a emeritus. I don't know if I can say that word, but, the highest ranking decoy that you can be. And he's only like 4 or 5 hours away from us. So we went down there and that was just incredible. And like, their club vibe was so great. It was super, super fun.
Better than your old club.
Have you done any decoying?
Yeah, I was going to
ask. No.
Do you have any desire to?
No. I mean, like, when they were all young, like all the puppies were young, like I wouldn't mind, like with my decoy Blair, or he's our club decoy, our main one, we have a few, but with his puppy, like when we didn't have anyone else, I would work the puppy and just like, he would instruct me and I would work the puppy. And like, because I have a feel for dogs, like it was fine, you know, like it works out because I can tell what's going on, but I don't have any interest in being like smashed or bitten or like, no, I have no interest. Like I'm too much of a weenie for that.
Yeah.
But so we have Lizzie and Zoe. They're like these two tiny little girls that are they're training to be decoys, and they're amazing. Like they are tiny and they catch some heavy hitting dogs. Like it's impressive.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy. Our friend Katerina is learning how to be a decoy, and I'm like, girl, you're going to dislocate everything.
Yeah.
She's teeny tiny, like, and you know, honestly, I have all my faith and all my confidence in her. It's just that I also worry about her.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Totally.
Oh you're going to break so many things. So
I know. I worry about them too, but they're strong. And like, I mean, you're wearing a suit.
Yeah,
As long as the dogs you're working are safe, like you should be okay. Hopefully.
Yeah, I've caught some dogs, and like that's not for me.
Yeah.
I don't
like.
need
I'll do
to
it
be
once.
taken
I do.
to.
Like it's hard.
Like
Wreck
it's an
my body.
experience.
Oh.
It's an experience, and like you should know. You know, you should maybe have that reminder of like how powerful dogs are, and like
totally.
it is interesting to see the other end of it, and then to actually get bit. Like, because when you're working with aggressive dogs or whatever, like the goal is not to get bit. Like you're trying to avoid that. But if you know what it's like to actually get bit, it's easier to avoid.
I think what's really interesting about like getting into protection sports is like, and Pat talks about this too. I feel like everything I'm just regurgitating his podcast, but like, if you want to work with aggressive dogs, like working in protection sports, like allows you to see that in like a controlled way. And like, you know how to activate a dog, you know how to turn it off, you know how to like, if you can control that end of it, like it just sets you up so much better for like breeding dogs and all of that stuff. So
I completely agree with that.
Yeah, it's super valuable. And even for me as a handler, like even though I don't want to decoy, like I went to this decoy seminar because as a handler, I need to know that what they're doing with my dog is correct. I need to know what I want from my decoy for my dog. So it's really important as a handler to know those things as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. Cool. Well, on that note, that's the end of this episode. If you guys want to hear us continue this conversation, we're going to get into all kinds of fun stuff. Go check out our Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Super Serious Dog Podcast. If you're not sure if you want to get on the Patreon, we actually released 2 free episodes recently. Clowns Produce 100 Units of Stress, and I don't remember the title of the other
problem one. Is we're primates.
That's right. That's where we continued our interview with Chad Mackin. So definitely go check it out if you want a taste of.
You don't have to sign up or anything. You just go to Patreon, search Super Serious Dog Podcast, scroll down, find those, push play. It's there.
Ta-da! As always, we love you guys. We really appreciate your support and you being here. Tell your friends about us. Give us a thumbs up on whatever podcast app that you use. And we'll see you next time. Bye!
Bye!
Bye! Are we supposed to dance now?
Yes, now, go!
Oh. I don't really dance. I shouldn't have asked that.
But you knew it was time.